Attention! Honor, guard! Attention! Hold, right, shoulder, hold! Hold, ready, hold.
We see President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump entering the area where the passing review is taking place. So let's listen in as the newly incoming president does his official inspection of the U.S. military forces. Back the next.
Detachment. Present. Arms. Sir, this includes first time. Ceremonial at ease. guard. Attention. Hold. Right shoulder up. Hold. Ready. Going. Commanders, take charge of your units.
We are back with you, looking now at pictures from inside the Capitol Visitor Center. This is what traditionally would be outside on the east front of the Capitol, but with a lot of today's inauguration-related activities brought inside, this is what's known as pass and review. This is where an incoming president makes a symbolic review of the troops of the U.S. military. Traditionally, this would be something we would see kick off the parade, leaving the Capitol headed down toward the White House. So instead, this will be occurring at this point. President Donald Trump will come in and perform this ceremonial duty and then head on to the Capital One Arena, where again, there will be other events taking place this afternoon in lieu of that traditional parade. So this pass and review, this is something that we traditionally see as part of our inauguration activities. It is consistent on the schedule. It's not a really intensive inspection of the military, but again, it is considered to be something symbolic and is a traditional sort of duty for the commander-in-chief or the official in charge of the military to give them a look over, since as president, that also comes with that the commander-in-chief duties and the person who is atop the United States military forces. So we are seeing all of that taking place here in the Congressional Visitor Center. And shortly, we do expect that we will see President Donald Trump coming into this space to participate in pass and review before he and Vice President J.D. Vance head on to the Capital One Arena. For the past more than an hour, they have been taking part in the traditional Inauguration Day luncheon, also on the Capitol complex. And you were looking at some images of that earlier. That event recently wrapped up. And so this is what's next here on our schedule. Let's listen in as it gets going.
Honor, guard. Attention. Ceremonial. At east. Hold. At east. Honor, guard. Attention. Hold. Right. Shoulder. Hold. Hold. Ready. Hold.
We see President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump entering the area where the passing review is taking place. So let's listen in as the newly incoming president does his official inspection of the U.S. military forces. Back the next.
Attention! Present! Arms! Sir, this includes first honors. Ceremonial at peace. Post, ready, deploy. Commanders, take charge of your units.
We are back with you, looking now at pictures from inside the Capitol Visitor Center. This is what traditionally would be outside on the east front of the Capitol, but with a lot of today's inauguration-related activities brought inside, this is what's known as pass and review. This is where an incoming president makes a symbolic review of the troops of the U.S. military. Traditionally, this would be something we would see kick off the parade, leaving the Capitol headed down toward the White House. So instead, this will be occurring at this point. President Donald Trump will come in and perform this ceremonial duty and then head on to the Capital One Arena, where again, there will be other events taking place this afternoon in lieu of that traditional parade. So this pass and review, this is something that we traditionally see as part of our inauguration activities. It is consistent on the schedule. It's not a really intensive inspection of the military, but again, it is considered to be something symbolic and is a traditional sort of duty for the commander-in-chief or the official in charge of the military to give them a look over, since as president, that also comes with that the commander-in-chief duties and the person who is atop the United States military forces. So we are seeing all of that taking place here in the Congressional Visitor Center. And shortly, we do expect that we will see President Donald Trump coming into this space to participate in pass and review before he and Vice President J.D. Vance head on to the Capital One Arena. For the past more than an hour, they have been taking part in the traditional inauguration. Let's listen in as it gets going.
Honor, go! Attention! Ceremonial! Half east! Hold, stand, east! Ceremonial! Half east! Stand by. Attack. Attention. Honor, guard. Attention. Follow, right, shoulder, forward. first team. Let's get motivated, guys.
You just ensure that they stay within the lane. Right? You guys good? created in France during
Ceremonial. At ease. Follow. Order. Ready. Hold. Attach. Ceremonial. At ease. Stand by. Attack. Attention. Honor. Guard. Hold. Attention. Follow. Right. Shoulder. Forward. Hold. Ready. Right. Commanders. Take charge of your units.
We are back with you, looking now at pictures from inside the Capitol Visitor Center. This is what traditionally would be outside on the east front of the Capitol, but with a lot of today's inauguration-related activities brought inside, this is what's known as pass and review. This is where an incoming president makes a symbolic review of the troops of the U.S. military. Traditionally, this would be something we would see kick off the parade, leaving the Capitol headed down toward the White House. So instead, this will be occurring at this point. President Donald Trump will come in and perform this ceremonial duty and then head on to the Capital One Arena, where again, there will be other events taking place this afternoon in lieu of that traditional parade. So this pass and review, this is something that we traditionally see as part of our inauguration activities. It is consistent on the schedule. It's not a really intensive inspection of the military, but again, it is considered to be something symbolic and is a traditional sort of duty for the commander-in-chief or the official in charge of the military to give them a look over, since as president, that also comes with that the commander-in-chief duties and the person who is atop the United States military forces. So we are seeing all of that taking place here in the Congressional Visitor Center. And shortly, we do expect that we will see President Donald Trump coming into this space to participate in passing review before he and Vice President J.D. Vance head on to the Capital One Arena. For the past more than an hour, they have been taking part in the traditional Inauguration Day luncheon, also on the Capitol complex. And you were looking at some images of that earlier. That event recently wrapped up. And so this is what's next here on our schedule. Let's listen in as it gets going.
Honor, go! Attention! Ceremonial! At east! Hold! Stand at east!
Play it on the track.
Ceremonial! At east!
They stormed the beaches of Normandy, charging through the surf and gunfire, and climbing cliffs against overwhelming odds. Victory was never certain, but they fought fiercely and triumphed. Their fight wasn't just for America. It was for millions silenced by tyranny. 5 years after World War II, another struggle for freedom erupted. In Korea, the army faced not only a determined enemy, but brutal winters and impossible odds. In the Battle of Incheon, their fierce fighting forced the North Korean army to retreat. At the Pusan perimeter, they held the line. And in the frozen hills of Chosin, they fought with every ounce of strength to defend liberty. But peace was fleeting. In the 1960s, as tensions escalated in Southeast Asia, the Army was called to Vietnam. In the dense jungles, soldiers fought a relentless battle against an elusive enemy. The Army's strength was on display in the Battle of La Drang, where soldiers held firm under extreme conditions. In the face of uncertainty, the Army showed unwavering commitment to their mission. In 1990, the Army was called to the Middle East as Iraq threatened to dominate its neighbors. From the deserts of Saudi Arabia to the streets of Kuwait, soldiers launched a decisive offensive, pushing back the forces of tyranny and restoring peace. In just 100 hours, the Army's swift and overwhelming force liberated Kuwait, proving the might of American power and determination. Then, in 2001, the world changed. The attacks on September 11th set in motion a new era of conflict. The U.S. Army stood at the forefront of the global war on terrorism, fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq. In the mountains of Tora Bora, soldiers pursued those responsible for the attacks. And in the streets of Baghdad, soldiers faced an insurgency determined to tear the region apart. Their commitment never wavered as soldiers confronted each new trial, ensuring the security of America and its allies in a world that had been forever altered. The nature of war changed, and so did the Army. Today, the Army stands ready for whatever is next. Faster, smarter, and more lethal than ever. Battle-tested and constantly evolving, today's Army thrives under pressure. Across every domain, land, air, sea, space, and cyber, the Army remains ready and engaged. Through training and transformation, the Army ensures soldiers are equipped, empowered, and prepared to win against any adversary. Artificial intelligence and advanced weapons are changing the way we fight. But our foundation stays the same, the warrior ethos. Mission first. Never quit. Never accept defeat. Never leave a fallen comrade. Wherever the need, soldiers show up to fight and to serve, ensuring the safety and security of the nation. The Army's legacy lives in those who step forward. And the next chapter? It belongs to those who are ready to lead, to adapt, and make the same promise that every soldier makes to the nation and its people. This will defend.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. It is Patriot Day in America, the United States Army celebrating 250 years. It's the 250th anniversary, the birthday for our United States Army. Also, of course, today is Flag Day and President Trump's birthday. This is a patriotic day. If you ever wanted one, it is right here. And, you know, as patriots here in this country, people that just love our country, love President Trump, love the MAGA movement, love freedom, love our military, love our people. You know, it's one of those things that pretty much every day is Patriot Day in America, but today a real big highlight of it in Washington, D.C. Before we go to Washington, D.C., live with RSBN host Robert McNeely, who will bring us the sights and sounds of the event there. It's still yet to start. I mean, it's going to start in a couple hours yet, but, you know, just giving us a feel of what it's like there now, and also the great commentary, of course, by Robert, and any videos that we have when it comes to the United States Army, we'll be glad to play it here for you. Also, we have a number of sponsors to talk about today because these sponsors are on the right side of history, including the following. Republican Red Winery. Check this out. This year, as I just mentioned, marks the 250 years of the United States Army, and Republican Red Winery is raising a glass to the heroes who's defended our freedom since 1775. What a beautiful bottle that is right there on your screen. From the battlefields of the Revolution to the front lines of today, the Army has defended the liberty and freedom we hold dear. So to commemorate, you see it right there, this historic milestone, Republican Red Winery has crafted a limited edition wine that salutes our soldiers, past, present, and future. It's bold, it's 100% American made, and it is the first wine in a series raising funds to support our veterans. So you can stock up now for Independence Day, military reunions, or just a good old-fashioned American barbecue. Order your bottle today at republicanred.com, because 250 years of freedom deserves more than a toast. Of course, it deserves a legacy. Here's to 250 more. Republican Red Winery, bold wine for brave Americans, only at republicanred.com. An absolutely great sponsor here at Right Side. What a beautiful bottle that is for today as well. Saluting 250 years defending our nation. Also, we want to shift to one of our new sponsors here, Bearskin. This is an absolutely great product here. Trust me, because thank you, Bearskin. We actually received a number of the products right here. This is kind of perfect for today because this is the hunter green outer shell, but the rain jacket here that is U.S. Army color indirectly today for a U.S. Army Day. So they sent us one of these as well. They sent us also the inside part of it. This is the hoodie that is pretty awesome. I actually saw a number of the ads over the past couple months, and I said, you know what, I do want to get my hands on that product. Finally, I have that right here. It's the hoodie and heavy storm rain jacket combo. So it's ultra light, heavy duty. I actually tried this on yesterday, both of them. So you put this on and you throw this on if it gets stormy out there, whether you're fishing, hiking, boating, whatever you're doing outdoors. And it actually is really comfortable. And not only that, this is the kind of stuff that when you're outside and it gets stormy, you got everything taken care of with Bearskin. Speaking of all of that, as a news reporter over the years, one of the things I like to cover was outdoor weather events, you know, inclement weather, whether it's a hurricane, a tropical storm, blizzards, aftermaths of tornadoes. I just really like putting on this kind of gear and going out there and covering it. And I can tell you, I know after 20 years of doing that kind of coverage, what kind of gear is good. And Bearskin has got it going on right here. So you've got that. That's the outer shell. And again, the hoodie itself is pretty awesome. So you see all of that information right there. You can unlock 60% off. Now, this is what you got to do. Just text RSBN to 36912. So 36912. So that's the number you put at the top. And then in the body of it, you put RSBN. I did this before I got to the broadcast today. I wanted to see the whole flow of everything. And it's great. They send you a text right away. You can click right away to get that 60% off of the hoodie here. So get that information right there. All you have to do is text RSBN to 36912. The world's only 10-pocket tactical hoodie. Literally, I counted. There are 10 pockets. So good stuff right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much, Bearskin, for sending over a number of the products, as it's now 3:41, Saturday, June 14th. Why don't we go live to Washington, D.C., where RSBN host Robert McNeely is there. He's going to be there for the next few hours as we get to see this huge parade live from Washington. Let's go to Robert right now.
Welcome to Washington, D.C. You're looking live at Constitution Avenue as the Metropolitan Police, Secret Service, and Great Army get together for this military parade, something that has not been done since 1991 during the George H.W. Bush administration. Something that should be celebrated because not only is it the Army's 250th birthday, dating back to those first shots at Lexington and Concord in April of 1775 to save this great nation, a band of 13 colonies that came together to shape a new constitutional republic against the strongest military at the time, the greatest empire, the United Kingdom, Great Britain, of course. And we are thrilled to be here on a muggy, swampy, hot and humid day where overcast for the most part, but the sun is now shining. It's great to have you all here with us live at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and we'd be remiss not to say Happy birthday, Mr. President, 79 years young today. Over my right-hand shoulder, you will see the presidential box. Earlier, Lee Greenwood warming up with his God Bless the USA. We look forward to that performance, as well as a tribute to the United States military, specifically the Army, on its 250th birthday, with a legacy item of all the different uniforms, all of the different military equipment over the course of over 2 centuries now. And we have some familiar faces and friends that were in the crowd, including Courtney Reed, who is a great photographer. She was out there taking some pictures earlier, so maybe we'll get a chance to talk to her later on today, as well as some of the other attendees and perhaps even some of the members of the cabinet. They might stop on here near Constitution Avenue to talk to you, the American people. Always good as well to catch up with media colleagues and friends. Right behind us on the risers here, the Washington Monument. How beautiful is that to look out on this lovely mall of ours in the nation's capital, the federal city, as I like to call it. And with all of the celebration, all of the Thanksgiving today, I'd be remiss not to focus on where we stand here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and that is a nonviolent stance, a peaceful stance. And today, earlier, State Representative, former Speaker of the Minnesota House, Melissa Hortman, and her husband murdered by someone pretending to be a police officer. Our thoughts and prayers with the family members there. Also, State Senator John Hoffman and his spouse also injured by this same perpetrator. Our thoughts and prayers are with both families, are with the Democratic Farm Labor Party of Minnesota, and with all Minnesotans. We're standing united as Americans because, to echo many good people across the country, we settle our differences at the ballot box, not through the use of violence. And we are thinking about our people in law enforcement who are out here full display, not only securing the area with Secret Service, state, local, and federal law enforcement as well, doing an amazing job to have this beautiful military parade today. But again, our thoughts and prayers with those in Minnesota. So, beautiful day to be here. Summertime in Washington, D.C. It's always a privilege, as we shared with you the inauguration, CPAC, a trip on Air Force One down to Palm Beach, Florida with President Trump. And now, of course, your beautiful federal city in the summertime. Always a joy to be with you here on Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. And Mr. Matthew Alvarez in studio. Can you hear me, sir? And when we get that feedback together, we'll talk on some of the issues going on today and what President Trump is focused on, as he tomorrow will be going to Alberta, Canada, for the G7 meetings, and then also 2 weeks from now to the Netherlands and NATO meetings to take place. So this president nonstop, even taking time on his birthday this weekend where he can be celebrating at home at the White House just down the street from here, but instead wants to be out here on Constitution Avenue for this big, bold, beautiful display. Now, we have not seen many protests so far today. We heard that in many cities throughout the country and some suburban locations that there would be this so-called anti-King protest. We did not see anything right here on the mall where we're at, but we will let you know if anything develops in that sense. Of course, many police officers securing the area. It's not as locked down as the inaugural was, but this is the traditional, with the rallies going through Secret Service, going through all of TSA as well to get to this checkpoint. But really, all of today's been very, very smooth. As I hear we have Matthew Alvarez on the other side. How are you, my friend?
I am great, Robert. It's great to see you out there in Washington, D.C. I mean, this is a great time for our country. We're calling it Patriot Day in America, right? I mean, what's the vibe there? In the sense of, like, obviously right now you're in a secure zone, so you can't see the long lines of the people, but have you seen a lot of the MAGA hats and all that kind of thing?
Yes, some of the usual suspects, some of our friends, the Front Row Joes, and some of those great folks we interviewed during the campaign trail. Now, we were pretty much shuffled in around 1 o'clock Eastern to where we are right off of Constitution Avenue here and in the middle of the mall. So some different priorities with getting people in to where they're located, but now we actually have people filling up where I'm looking out to towards the Washington Monument. So some people I think will be enjoying behind our press risers as well as the risers you see behind me along the parade route.
Isn't it great to see our president lead the way to get rid of corruption, you know, in all these cabinet leader positions that he selected, people like Pete Hegseth, who did a great video with the White House commemorating the 250 years of the U.S. Army. I mean, these are people that are saying we want corruption out of our government. We want our country to be healthy again and our military to be strong. And Robert, if you remember, you were at the, I think it was the Commander-in-Chief ball in Washington, D.C., when it was the inauguration that night. And didn't the president say something like, we want to have a military so strong, wouldn't it be great that we wouldn't even have to use it?
Yes, sir. Those were basically the exact words. And what was so interesting about that night, first and foremost, it was a lot colder than it is today. But second, how excited our military was, and then calling into South Korean command overseas to hear, welcome back, Mr. President. So that was an exciting moment dating back to January 20th of this year. And this all now culminates into something, Matthew, that hasn't happened since 1991 in the federal city during the Bush 41 administration, a military parade. And we've seen this around the world, whether it was May 8th in Russia and Vladimir Putin inviting Xi Jinping to enjoy the end of World War II celebrations that take place in Russia there. Also, Bastille Day in France is another one that seems to have inspired President Trump, with Emmanuel Macron saying, look at this, look how great this parade is. Perhaps you could do it in your neck of the woods. And then also other countries like China displaying their military might as well at different times. So this is something we've seen around the world.
Exactly. And Robert, when you were covering the Fort Bragg speech by President Trump on Tuesday of this past week, he said, and I want to get your reaction to this quote here. President Trump said, this week, we remember that we only have a country because we first had an army. And after 250 years, we still proudly declare that we are free because you are strong. We are safe because you are brave, and America's flag will never fall because America's army will never, ever fail. When you were watching that speech and just seeing and hearing from the military there cheering for President Trump, you know, what was that like to hear that we have a president that is on the side of the military fully, and the military is on the side of the president fully?
He understands the civilian duties of leading this great fighting force, and the proof is in the pudding, as my former congressman and dear friend Peter Roscom used to say back in the early Illinois days when I was interning for him way back when. I'm dating myself a bit. And look at the recruitment numbers that have gone up because of President Trump, because of Secretary Hegseth, and because of those great young people that simply want to serve. So it's awesome to see the excitement in our military right now, and again, an all-volunteer force ready to put their lives on the line. And as President Trump said recently on Memorial Day, Vice President Vance and Secretary Hegseth, it's so important to look at the fact that we don't want to use this, but to have this meritocracy ready to fight each and every day for the American people. And think about a job as important as our job is, Matthew, being journalist. It's the one career, the one vocation written into the United States Constitution, a free and fair press. We have a duty, and it's to show you the truth and to show you all of this amazing things for you, the American people, to happen on Constitution Avenue in your federal city. But thank God we have the people that will put themselves on the line every day to protect those founding documents. And you know who can protect you while you're at it, watching this wonderful Saturday coverage of this great, big, beautiful military parade? Happy birthday, Army. We are Army strong 250 years later. in this great country. Tax Network USA, a wonderful sponsor of Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. Tax day may have passed, but for millions of Americans, the real trouble is just beginning. If you missed that April 15th deadline or still owe those back taxes, the IRS won't necessarily back down. They're ramping up enforcement. Every day you wait only makes things worse for you and for your wallet. With over 5,000 new tax liens filed daily and the tools like property seizures, bank levies, and wage garnishments, the IRS is applying pressure at levels we have not seen in years. Increased administrative scrutiny means collections are moving fast. Well, here's the good news. There's still time for Tax Network USA to help you. Even after the deadline, it's not too late to regain control, especially if you're self-employed or you're a business owner. If your books are a mess, they've got it covered for you. So Tax Network USA specializes in cleaning up financial chaos and getting you back on track fast. Even after the deadline, it's not too late to regain control. So those threatening letters could happen, the ramping up of penalties. Don't be surprised before they hit you. So 800-958-1000. That's 800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/RSBN. You may have missed that April 15th deadline, but do not fear. You have not run out of options. Let Tax Network USA help you with all of those needs. And while you're at that, our sponsors at Patriot Addict Deals were finally able to produce some more limited item Trump Air Force One replica planes. Actually, the Trump Force One planes that he had from the campaign trail. These planes are handmade. Takes months to produce. I have one of my own, and it's a lot of fun to have on my MAGA man desk. It's good stuff. There were only a few able to bring back, about 100 planes in this run, in fact. They will run out quick. They ran out the first time I purchased them, and then took months to come back. So get your hands on the limited edition collector's piece Trump plane today. PatriotAddictDeals.com. Don't forget code RSBN20. It's 20% off. Save that now. Code RSBN20. 20% off. These are super limited, all handcrafted, and they will be gone very, very soon. So get yours today, PatriotAddictDeals.com. Matthew, do you have a chance to get that big, beautiful plane for your desk?
I don't have that one yet. I do want to get it. I also have an Air Force One smaller plane, but I love aviation, so I definitely need to get that plane. I know you did. You also have to bring it here into the studio. It's going to be great. We should display it on the desk here, because you know how at the Oval Office, President Trump has the newer look of that Air Force One right there in front of those world leaders. It's pretty cool stuff, isn't it?
You have to love it, and I'm excited to see what will be on display right behind us. We have a primetime seat here right off of Constitution Avenue in the heart of the mall, in the heart of our beautiful federal city, and really not far from the White House, where President Trump is really working overtime, as we know, responding to what took place over the course of the last few days with Israel striking Iran. We're watching that closely, as well as this president is all about peace through strength. He wants peace amongst nations. And we know from the Kennedy Center coverage the other night, he said just that. I want the Iranian people to flourish. And they have this opportunity now because I want to trade with them. I want to bring back that great Persian culture. And we'll see what happens over the coming weeks and months in regards to this conflict.
Exactly. So a lot of news going on out there, to your point, Robert, because, you know, during the week, Monday through Friday, of course, you and I are covering a lot of things going on around the country, especially in Washington, D.C., with all the press events with Carolyn Levitt, or if it's President Trump signing an executive order. Or coming up, as you know, the president will be going to Canada for the G7 and then to a NATO summit in Netherlands. But this weekend, you know, I want to keep it real. Let's keep it real patriotic in the sense of, you know, why are you proud to be an American? Let's talk about that real quick, because it's something that I think the people that are watching right now are just saying, you know what, I'm glad that our Army has made it to 250 years, and we have many more to come, of course. Your thoughts just about the fact that you're there and you're going to witness this history with President Trump and many others.
It's opportunity. I think in one word, opportunity, because it's freedom, it's liberty, it's the foundational principles. When John Adams and Ben Franklin are in that room with Thomas Jefferson, and they're putting pen to paper the Declaration of Independence, really a letter to King George III at the time, saying that every single human being is endowed with certain inalienable rights. The right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. It really is the fulfillment of the 13th century Magna Carta that was written from the same Western civilization, the same United Kingdom, and those who were dialoguing centuries earlier. What they brought together, and I believe God brought these men together, were the best things about every single government. We can reflect on this in the art, the architecture, the things you find in Washington, D.C. Many of them you can actually enjoy on the house as well. Many of the museums here free of charge. So be sure to bring your families here. We saw a lot of families flying in for their summer vacations to take in this big, beautiful moment, this historical moment. And you think back to Lexington and Concord in April of 1775, 250 years ago, when the Army was born with that commission of General George Washington to lead the charge by the Second Continental Congress. How brave these men were, because a lot of them had experience from the French and Indian War, but many were marksmen because you had to be in the frontier life, which frontier life back then was simply 25 miles west of Boston, Massachusetts, a big port city, continues to this day, of course. But you look at all of that, they were able to take on the most powerful kingdom in the entire world, the most powerful army and navy. So God was on this side of this constitutional republic, bringing these ideas together that really cleared the way and gave birth to a freedom, liberty movement that stands the test of time to this very day.
It's so true. And I'm just thinking about all of the soldiers that will be marching in that parade behind you, the helicopters we may see above, the tanks, all that kind of equipment there. It's going to be a very awesome moment, a very patriotic moment. I was watching some patriotic videos this morning, and I do that on my downtime sometimes. But I was watching a Toby Keith video about the U.S. Army and all that, and I was just thinking about all of the people out there, including my grandpa who served in the Army. He was a sergeant in the U.S. Army, and you know, this is something that really brings up just the genesis of what this is all about, because as President Trump said, without